I tried to refer it, but it just was no room for it. But I do want to talk about men's mental health and grooming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And in recent years, in the news and the information age, we've been seeing a lot of these teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Coming out sexually assaulting our boys. You're seeing a lot of podcasts now, within the feminist circles and in the male circles, and we're seeing how young these people are being coerced into these things by older people, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like right now it's definitely necessary to talk about because a lot of us as men have different perspectives on how we view it, right?
Yeah.
Because in at least back in my day, a lot of young men at the time, under the age of 18, if they took down a teacher, they'd be like, "Woo!" Because like a lot of us ain't really taught that women are necessarily capable of the same atrocities as men.
And they don't suffer the same consequences.
Well, that's neither here or there. That's
True,
the
but
semantics.
yeah.
That's because it's because regardless if that even if we get the justice right, let's say that it was there, right?
Yeah.
We still not raised in a way that women are just as capable of abuse as men. You know what I'm saying?
Because
Like,
of how it's rationalized after the fact, or how it's explained, or however you want to classify it after the events that go down.
right, but that's the thing. That's my point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different reactions to this very same thing where some would give praise, right? And but we're coming into a time now that we're realizing that because a lot of these men, these boys who became men, right,
Yeah.
had sons, right, and now it's different. Why is it different? Because now they see it for what it is. But I don't have kids, but I see it for what it is. Before that, right? You know what I'm saying? Damn, we gotta blurb
Yep.
that again.
It's a horrible act, is what it is.
It's an atrocious act upon children. You know what I'm saying? And and a lot of them are realizing they were being taken advantage of at young ages. They were being coerced, and I'm also finding out that a lot of the times it don't even start there, bro. Sometimes it starts maybe a few years before, and I don't mean like the actual act, but the meeting, them having a relationship where they'll know each other for years, and this person will kind of just kind of lead them along until they feel they're ready to make they move, and then you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's all wrong, you know what I'm saying, and it's because like my thing is that on that note, it's just like how do we as a community address this issue, and when I mean community, us as men,
Right.
right, that are within our mindset. How do we confront these perpetrators in our community? Like, do we confront everything that people say? Like, we in a conversation and something just be said, and it's just like, shouldn't we just shut it down and kind of really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or do we hear about it? Do we what do we do? Like, I'm actually wanting to know personally because I'm not really sure because because the thing is that technically with this situation, not everybody's on the same mind, on the same, on the same.
Wavelength. Well, they
Yeah,
should. I think that's where it should begin, is getting everyone on in agreement,
right,
in agreement, and go from there.
right, but that's the hard part, which is silly. Like,
It shouldn't be hard.
it should not be, but you got people out here who feel that because like there's people from like the 70s and the 80s, you know what I'm saying, who had those year differences, and it's like if it's wrong now, it should always be wrong, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and there's a lot of that too, because now you're gonna have a lot of people having to confront their own past in a way that they wouldn't have considered if they some people will say no to protect their family's honor, right? It's deeper than just right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of that amongst the people of color, right? there's a lot of the age differences and stuff like that.
They don't want to deal with the shame that comes along
It's a
with it.
lot, bro. It's a fucking lot. You know what I'm saying? And that's just on women's side.
Right.
Think about it how it goes for us. Like it's not. It doesn't even go without saying. It's just our passage as men, and that's an issue because, like I said in our earlier podcast, that American boys, we don't have a rite of passage into becoming a man. So it kind of leaves us open for people to kind of define it for us. So if a woman twice your age sleeps with you, right?
Yeah.
She can tell you, oh, you know, you just became a man. You gonna take that because it's like you never had any goalposts, right?
Yeah.
So you gonna take. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what makes me a man, right? And then when your homies be like, oh shit, you did that.
Passes
Passes on that validation of your manhood when all the while they ain't got shit to do with your manhood.
So, all right. So if you asserted that there is no rite of like you feel that there's no rite of passage for us, man. Like for the
what I'm saying is there's no rite of passage by American standards now. Households, like your household might have a rite of passage.
That's what I was about to get to. Is like it can be something that your parent, whatever the situation may be, set forth and be like, this is going to be your rite of passage. So from here on, you know, it's
not even that. It's just that's the type of thing you're gonna have to have in mind when you have a son, right? That how do you change your view, because as a parent you're gonna have to kind of look at that person as a man, right? But this whole time this person has been your son, so you know you're gonna have to, it's a process, you know, and there's no easy way of just letting them know that they're a man. They gotta kind of have an innate feeling in themselves too. You just have to kind of reinforce what they already feel, right? Because if you don't have any inherent traditions, the best you can do is just reinforce the masculinity, right?
But that's toxic. You can't be doing that in this day and age.
And what I mean by reinforce the masculinity is just, you know, be more supportive in the things that he likes to do. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, as far as his behavior, let him, instead of teaching him just to be courteous, I teach him to be courteous and cautious of the people that he engage with and to set boundaries. You know, because a lot of young boys don't know how to set boundaries. And then when they get all googly-eyed for these women, they already know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They taught early. That's how you get these boys. You know, but these boys ain't taught early to set them boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a parent of boys, you need to teach young men, young boys to set boundaries early. You know, because boys are most impressionable at them ages, man. Yeah, dude. You know what I'm saying? Because they looking for adventure. They looking for something. They looking to do things, you know. And if you're not careful, your son can be a victim to somebody's own mechanism. Because grooming doesn't necessarily mean necessarily sexual, right? Because people have been groomed to be gangbangers. People have been groomed to be drug dealers. Yeah. Kids have been groomed to be murderers. Kids have been groomed to be a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Grooming comes in so many shapes and forms. It's not just the sexual atrocities. You know, there are other atrocities kids commit every day in the influences of those who know better but don't do better. Yeah. And how do you protect yourself? You got to believe in something. I ain't talking about God because I believe in God, because I'm always going to believe in the Most High. But what I'm saying is believe in something or fall for anything. You know, you got to hold on to some foundations in your own personal life. You got to have personal moral ethics and personal moral compass that goes beyond the laws of this world, right? Yeah. Beyond the laws of the U.S. and the government and the UN, you know, and you also have to hear me out. I am not a professional, nor is my friend here. This is also the role that's taken. I am your co-host, Petty Rich, and this is
Mole Man.
And we're still doing this right now. We're talking about, you know, child grooming, right? And the thing is that I'm not a professional. I have no professional experience when it comes to child trafficking, child psychology, anything in the nature of CPS or social services. I have no law degree in any of these things to regard any kind of professional outlook when it comes to grooming, sexual assault, child trafficking, etc. We're just two people trying to help men navigate through their mental health as peers suffering through the same dilemmas. So if you are in need of any kind of help, or if you feel that you want to hurt yourself or others, please contact the Suicide Prevention Hotline at
988.
I say again, you can contact the Suicide Prevention Hotline at
988.
All right. So back to it. My thing is that, you know, these you have these kids, that can be shaped and so impressionable.
You said something before. They're being groomed by people that know better but don't do better. I think that would cancel out the fact that they know better, because at that point they're just ignoring it. They're like, they've thrown away their any sense of morality. Right?
Nah, because it's one thing to do something in ignorance, and it's another thing to do it when you with the full knowledge of what you're doing. Right? You know what I'm saying? Now they're both equally wrong. You know what I'm saying? But one can be corrected.
Okay.
You can cure ignorance. You can't cure that level of evil commitment, right? When you're just aware of the actions that you're doing, but you don't care. You're just trying to make your bread. That's a different level of, Now the action is still atrocious, but one can be cured with knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Now it can potentially be cured. I can't say it's gonna always be cured, because even if they come to the full knowledge of their actions, they can just still commit to what they're doing. Right?
Okay.
So there's so many variables with that. And my thing is that we have to be more mindful of the kids that are around us. We got to kind of get out of ourselves as adults, as millennials. Yeah, we got the short end of the stick, but it's still our responsibility to make sure these kids find their way. Because a lot of them, more and more, are becoming victims, man. I'm hearing about these Bumble stories and these chat stories, and and that's another way they've been grooming, though. Like we were talking about last week.
All the apps.
Yeah, man, all these apps, dude. Like
chat rooms, fucking the gaming, everything's been compromised.
Yeah, man, we too busy trying to be the manliest men when we need to just be adults. Like we too busy trying to be this man for this woman, and these men for these women, and we ain't being men for the community. We ain't being men for the most vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point of making all this money when you can't even protect one child? What's the point of all this money when you can't even keep the environment that you in safe? Right? Like, everybody's so internalized when it comes to manhood, when manhood is not an internalized thing. It's an expression that you commit to every day. You know what I'm saying? Every day you commit to your life is your manhood. Not the shit that you try to convince yourself. Not the shit that you trying to gaslight yourself with. You know?
Right.
And we have a responsibility to our communities to protect our kids. You know what I'm saying? Because they the ones who don't know. You know, and we got to start. My thing is, you know how this starts? We got to start confronting motherfuckers online. I don't give a fuck if it's a bot. You got to tell them it's not okay. And be okay with people dogging you. We got to not be scared to just be like, you're wrong. That's gross. That sounds very creepy. You should know better. You know what I mean? We gotta start holding people accountable for the shit they say and the shit they post online when it comes to that shit. When it comes to anything about kids, and it's not just sexual. You know, you hear someone say "fuck them kids." No, bro. Why? Who? You need to calm down. That's not appropriate, bro.
Yeah, it's just like
you know what I'm saying. These are kids, bro. Kids ain't got nothing to do with your life.
They're not affecting it in any way for you to react like that.
In any way, shape, or form for you to be like "fuck kids," bro. You know what I'm saying? The kids are the only people, the only creatures in this environment, in this society, that are literal products of their environment. We can leave our environment and literally change the way we, operate if we choose to. Kids ain't got that fucking choice. Well, what kind of economy? What kind of strength? What kind of what?
They don't.
You know,
they're at the whims of whatever.
They're being groomed by their environment. Grooming comes in. It's not. It doesn't have to just be a person grooming these kids. If they're in an environment, they can be shaped. Look how many gangbangers came out of Pasadena just from the environment. It wasn't people. It was because so many people were doing it. They wanted to not feel from it, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted to feel apart. You know, so or the drug game. They see people making money. You going home with your food stamps, like, or you go. You know, you bought you a pair of Adidas, but they bought like 3 pair of Jordans that you wanted in 3 different colors.
That gangbanging thing you said right now reminded me of a friend that I had way back in middle school. That shit, like that, his transition, like it's still every now and then will still ring in my mind. Like I remember, like 6th grade year, we were all or 6th or 7th, like we were all hanging out, whatever, gaming, whatever. Vector Man was big at the time. Yeah. We're all just like gassed up about that shit, and like, all right, man. So, you know, one school year ended, came back the next year. Dude was straight peanut status, bald head, fucking white, like huge, oversized clothing, everything. Only saw him once, and then he just fucking disappeared. He essentially was just like, "Yo, stay away from me." I was just like, dude, like, what the fuck just happened to this kid? And he didn't do it in a menacing way. He just was telling me, it's just like, whoever you think I was, that's not me now. So keep your distance. I was just like,
you know what I mean? Like,
that shit rattled me because I was just like, what the fuck? Like,
bro, all it takes is like a summer, bro. Like, kids get exposed to things so fast, and they're so susceptible that shit can literally just 360, especially when we was growing up, bro. You know, as a kid, bro, like, that's why a lot of niggas that I was growing up with was, like, young when they started that shit, because a lot of the big homies got them young. That's when you're the most impressionable. That's when you the most want to fit in. You know what I'm saying? And people take advantage in different ways to do that with women and men. But in this case with men, you found a lot of drug dealing. You found a lot of gang banging. But a lot of people rarely hear about the sexual abuse, you know, because it came in a lot of forms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk about because a lot of men because a lot of men feel like it compromises their manhood, which it doesn't. It just means that we were in a society that failed to protect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why, and you know, and because there's no like inherent standard of initiation to manhood, how could they know they wasn't supposed to? But for all they know, that was their manhood tested, and they failed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is the cons of not having
a rite of passage or something
right,
like that.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because now it can go which way, and now it can affect a child for the rest of their life, because now, you know, essentially there's these factors that can essentially make them feel robbed. You know, like, why do you think, like, for me, Roots is a good one? Because
the show,
okay, because they had a rite of passage. You know, in the beginning, before they took Kunta Kinte to Americas, he became a Mandingo warrior, and he did all that shit, right? And he ain't never forgot that shit. It took them to cut his foot off, right? To get, like, they had to literally maim this man in a way that most human beings couldn't endure to break him. But, you know, for the most part, he was Kunta, you know, in his heart. Like, yeah, he was Toby in ways, but it just shows the power of initiation and how far it can go, right? You know, even through tumultuous circumstances, knowing you're a man makes a difference, right? Like, it's hard to explain, because it's like a lot of cats in America don't know they men. And it's not because they not men, it's just they're, by what right do being a man count for them, right?
Yeah. What frame of reference do they have?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Unless you have a household with traditional values that stem back generations, there's no bar.
It's slowly, well, not slowly, it's been fucking eroded over the last few decades.
Right, but which was, you know, go to school, get a good job,
go to college,
you know, no,
family.
Go to school, go to college, get a good job, get a house, family, get some kids, repeat the fucking cycle.
Yeah.
You know, That was the American dream. That was a fragile societal metric on a capitalistic society that couldn't maintain its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know, like, and now look at us, right? Everybody, the American, like, to be out here, low income out here now is like what, 60,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's low income, making 60,000 a year in LA, right?
Yeah.
What kind of American dream is that?
Living low income in America.
But
that's the American dream. You're living it.
But then it just brings.
That's the new version of it.
Yeah, but then it's just like, now you don't have any real. Now that that's becoming more and more out of reach,
mm-hmm.
It just seems like now manhood. So if all that's still necessary, right? Does that mean my manhood is paywalled? Because if I got to go to school, that's money.
Yeah.
To get a job, that I went to school to get the job.
Yeah.
So that's money, right? And then I'm getting a house, which is money.
Well, if you could afford the house.
Right.
Because everything's being bought up by private firms.
If you get a property, that's money, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say property then.
Yeah.
Money. And then having a wife and kids, money. So literally the 4 essential things I need for a family are literally behind paywalls that are over 5 figures.
I mean, when you say it like that
are over everything that you need for a family is over 5 figures.
Yeah, dude.
And if you add it all up, right? So let's say school, right?
Mm-hmm.
The average semester at UCLA is what, 24,000. The last time I was there, for the average, right? And so at 24 times 4. So we got
96.
So that's 96,000. So we round it off. That's $100,000 a year, right? Yeah. And it takes 3 years to get a degree. That's $300,000 right there, right?
And that's even if you don't go to like graduate school and all the other shit.
Right. That's
depending on what kind of degree you're going for.
This is just for a bachelor's degree, right? And let's just assume you didn't even need undergrad, right?
Yeah.
That's just that, right? And then you move on. You need a house, which right now in California, the median average is about $800,000. Mm-hmm. So we got about 300. So that's already 1.2 million. And that's just the house and that, right? And then a car. And, I'm going to need, I want a family. So maybe a 4-seater, maybe an SUV. Let's go SUV. So that's about another 40,000. You know what I'm saying? 1.34, you know what I'm saying? Million, you know what I'm saying? So that's the house, the car.
Mm-hmm. Let's throw in another variable.
School.
Say your job that at first was secured all of a sudden became destabilized and unsecure, and the next thing you know, you got to go look for work in something else that you didn't fucking...
Right. And let's say you've been doing your job for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And then you all of a sudden lose your job, but then your job is no longer viable because nobody's looking for it. So now you got this degree that's dead in the water, and you got this family, you got these bills. It's just, I'm stressed just thinking about it. Yeah, dude. It's a paywall though, right? And so now that's essentially kind of, and the average black man makes about 42,000. 46,000 maybe. And I just named off 3 things, and it came up to about 1.3 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So so you know what I'm saying? It's just to a point now where, with that being out of reach for the average American male, where is their standard of manhood when everything that America requires to be a man is at such astronomical heights? And then you have schools that their acceptance rates are getting lower and lower and lower, right? Suicide rates going up and up and up, and yet we can't correlate the manhood aspect. Like there's
more sacrifices,
right? a woman, they always got a woman has a natural initiation to womanhood, right? Their period makes them a woman. Because once they have a period, that means they can make children. They can create life. They are officially women. Now, that's not by definition. I'm not saying by no means that's cool for niggas, grown-ass motherfuckers. But I'm just saying, as far as inherently for a woman to know that they are a woman capable of giving life, that is a symbol.
Biologically, that's...
Right. Or, you know, puberty, like, yeah, boners here and there, but that don't mean shit. And as far as...
Hey, speaking of puberty, do you remember experiencing your puberty? I don't remember. I honestly don't remember much of it. I just know that it was just like...
I mean, I feel like puberty was more so what it is now, just more intense. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't, you know, now I can better identify the emotions that I was having now that I was having then that I didn't have a grip on. Or, you know, why these feelings came when certain people talk to me or certain times I talk to them. It was just more so like getting used to the new adjustments that are happening to my body rather than whatever women go through, bro.
Gotcha.
Like, I would say it's definitely more. And then it's just you get bigger, and it's like when you're inside the machine, you don't notice the growth. It's more so everybody else, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So, you know, I couldn't speak much on puberty as far as something, you know.
No, I'm not trying.
But again, that's my point, though. Like, that's not something inherent or a given for a boy to know that he's a man, whereas a woman, that's very definitive, right?
Yeah.
A young girl knowing that she's in the early stages of womanhood, right?
Right.
So, whereas manhood, they be like, you're a man now. Like, all right, bro.
Actually, I know they've come under scrutiny, and for good reason, because they themselves had some groomers that made the organization look terrible, Boy Scouts. Wouldn't that be like something that could be akin to something as a rite of passage? Because they take them out there and learn how to survive, how to forage for food and whatnot, live off the land, if you will. So,
but the thing is that, you know, what's the point when Girl Scouts can do it?
They're just out there selling cookies.
I get what you're saying, but what is it unique to a man to make a man a man? Like, there's rituals in Africa and parts of Europe and Asia that they do that women don't participate in because it's specifically to initiate a boy to a man, right?
All right, so let's get these young men hunting then.
It's not that. It's just, where are the gender-specific rites of passage? Like, a woman has a specific rite of passage, right? Which is her menstrual cycle. You know what I'm saying? We both go through puberty, but her rite of passage is evident.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas a man, it's not evident. The only thing that is evident is after certain ages, people start yelling at us more.
True.
After certain ages, people start expecting more shit out of us.
Yeah.
After a certain age, we're not that cute little boy no more. We this grown ass man. Like, there's no...
That should know better.
That should know better. And it's like, bitch, okay, I guess I'm a man now, right? Yeah. People be like, well, why don't you know better? Like, because we know better now. Like, there's no graduation ceremony. Congratulations, young man. You young boy, you're a man now. It's just like, we're 18 now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, like, I'm not saying necessarily for me. I had my dad, you know, and my dad told me, you know, when I can pay for my own shit, then I can say my own rules, right?
Yeah.
And I took that to heart. You know, I went to the Navy. I was like, I want to make my own man decision, you know, because, like, I had the same dilemma. I was like, I need to do something that makes me a man. I got to make my own. If I'm going to be a man, I got to make my own decisions. That's, you know, from what my dad was telling me. That's what I got from my father. If I'm going to be a man, I got to make my own decisions without anybody's help. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty much the same thing that my dad imposed on me, or told me.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I made the choice myself to join the Navy. I could, you know, I was like, yeah, I could have asked my mom. I could have asked my pastor. I could have asked a lot of people for their opinion or advice on the matter. But, You know, I felt that's what made me a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna be a time where I ain't got all them people to fall
Rely
on.
on,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And now this is not me trying to give anybody advice on what. This is just me having the blessing and the privilege of having my dad, you know, in my life to be able to even give me some semblance of a path to manhood.
Same.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't know. Like my question would be for this would be just how do we again? It comes back to the first question: how do we hold these lurking people accountable? How do we, how do we, what I mean? How do we get these people are wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I, they wrong, bro. What do we
Gotta
do?
shame them.
How? But like,
Bring
but
them up the public court of public opinion and shame them there.
yeah,
And then you also got to bring back the family home, the family unit as an idea, as a because like I mentioned earlier, that shit's been eroded.
yeah. I mean,
And again, it makes it more easier for kids to be groomed in many different ways if there's no two parents under the same house.
fair enough. Yeah, man, we got traditional values definitely, but
And that's just not cool now.
but
It's
we
like
can't.
everyone's bucking against that.
But the thing is that that traditional was a lie
Mm.
because we talking about the American dream, right?
So what tradition were we keeping alive?
A dream, because the only way you can get it is by being asleep. Like to go back to that would be to allow the powers that be to continue doing what they do to us. You know, we've been exploited and we're being exploited. Going backwards is not going to fix this. Going forward is not going to fix this. Being present is going to be fixing this. Establishing your own values in your household, whether it be you or your family. You know what I'm saying? We can't expect everybody to be a part of a singular program right now in so much disarray. That's why I go back to believe in something or fall for anything. You know, you gotta be able to, if you ain't got no values, make some values. You know, that's what it means to be a man. Well, I can't say that, right? Because we talk. I'm sorry, that's on me. I believe, in my opinion, that's a foundational aspect of a man, to be able to pave their own way, to put aside their own personal feelings and to get something done. You know what I'm saying? Positively. You know what I'm saying? And because the thing is, at the end of the day, you are responsible for your own personal mental health and the mental health of your household. You know, and it starts with establishing a set of values and beliefs that you can hold true to, so that your family can come to you for spiritual, mental, and physical strength. You know, because if they can't come to you, they're going to go to somebody else. And that somebody else may not have your best interest in mind.
They're going to see someone ripe for the pick and it's just like...
Right? So, you know, for the sake of your mental health, you know what I'm saying? Have a strong spiritual foundation. You know what I'm saying? Because not having a strong spiritual foundation leaves you open for others to take you and your household for granted.
It's true. And you have to be, as you would say, 10 toes down to stand true to these convictions, because there's going to be people out here that want to test you, that want to mock you, what have you. And try and, you know, tear down the way that you live your life or mock you for it. It's just like, no. They do that because, you know, it shines a light on them and lets you know that they're, you know, expose them for who they are, what they are.
Real tip. Man, you pretty much hit it on the money. Like, you have to stand firm on your convictions, because people are going to always try to offset you, because misery loves company. You know what I'm saying? People are most uncomfortable in the process of change. So, you know, when you see things going awry, just know that it's not that people around you are changing, it's that you're changing and they don't appreciate the change. You know what I'm saying?
They're like, fuck, he's no longer within our clutches.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these things are just weeds. And when you pull it, and sometimes you got to start over. You got to plant a new seed. Start all over. It takes time. But it'll be time worth it because now you know what it is when you don't have the real nourishment in your life. You know what I'm saying? You got to get yourself spiritual foundation for the sake of yourself, so that none of these dumb cults take advantage of you, and for your family, so you ain't got these pastors and swindlers in your wife's bedroom. You in your wife's bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just I'm just gonna be blunt. You know what I'm saying? These spiritual leaders have been taking advantage of men, mainly in the form of adultery. You know what I'm saying? Because again, grooming isn't just kids. These spiritual leaders will groom your spouse into their bedroom.
So watch out.
That's why it's important to have your own strong spiritual foundation, so that your woman or your family in the general won't have to rely on an outside party. Now, you may have all the reservations you want about the spirituality. You may not even believe it, but it would be a hooving of you not to get a grasp of what the people around you are following, because there may be someone from the outside who lead the people you love astray, or worse, you astray. So, Malcolm X said it, believe in something.
Fall for anything.
Fall for anything. You got anything?
No, I think that we touched on plenty of good topics, and
okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just from the top.
We're not professionals.
Not professionals, but I wanted from the top of what I was saying before we get to that.
Oh, my bad.
Grooming, when I bring that up, comes in many forms. Okay. And you just have to be vigilant. It can be in the chat rooms. It can be on YouTube. It can be on Telegraph, Reddit. It can be on these gaming chats.
Everywhere is susceptible, man.
Everywhere on the digital plane is susceptible to grooming, just as much as it is in school, just as much as it is in real life, and it's very real.
Watch out for the AI coming after you too, man.
So and grooming is not necessarily sexual either. You know what I'm saying? I suspect a lot of these mass shooters were groomed to and radicalized in the same way, man. You got to protect your kids in all aspects. Do not let this world turn your kids into victims or monsters.
For real, dude.
That is your due diligence as a parent. That is your due diligence as a man that is in this world with that's capable of doing something. Like, we got to, evil prevails when good men do nothing. Mm-hmm. But that's all I wanted to say. But and with that,
we're not professionals
at all.
We don't claim to be.
Not at all.
We're just men going through life.
Absolutely.
We try to do this every week, and every week we will bring you different episodes touching on different topics. Mm-hmm. When you do feel the need to reach out for professional help, there will always be links at the bottom in the description.
Absolutely.
If you do feel like harming yourself or others, please dial 988.
988. Again, please contact the Suicide Awareness Hotline at 988. I am your co-host, Petty Rich.
This has been Mole Man.
And this has been another episode of The Road Less Taken.
Take care of yourselves.
You have a good night.